Assalamu alaikum. I am Mahfuza Amena, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Government Bangabandhu College, Gopalganj. Today I would like to welcome the students of MA final year to my class. First of all, I would like to express my thanks and gratitude to Allah for keeping us safe and sound, because many of our friends and relatives, known and unknown figures, have already met premature death due to COVID-19 pandemic, but we are still alive with good health. Dear students, today I would like to take a class on Chaucer. The title of the topic is The General Prologue to the Canterbury Tales, and I would like to focus on how the general prologue mirrors the social, economic and religious condition of Chaucer's age or 14th century. Okay, first I would like to start with giving you some information about Chaucer. Chaucer was born in 1340 and he died in 1400. Okay. He was the most formidable figure, literary figure before the Renaissance. He is the greatest man of letters before Shakespeare. He is called the father of English poetry. John Dryden gives this title to him because actually he deserves this. Okay. He wrote a number of poems, Troilus, for example, Troilus and Cresseide, Parliament of Fowls, The House of Fame, The Canterbury Tales. And Canterbury Tales is considered to be the masterpiece of Chaucer. Okay, now I would like to discuss the characters of the general prologue to the Canterbury Tales. The general prologue to the Canterbury Tales begins with a description of spring, and during this time the devout English people desire to go on a pilgrimage, and pilgrimage is a journey undertaken for penance and grace. At that time, people would go to the relics of Saint Thomas Becket, who is considered as a saint because he helped the poor people, and though unfortunately he was murdered by the knights of King Henry II, and people of 14th century would like to visit the relics of Saint Thomas Becket in Canterbury to offer their thanks to the martyr. Okay. A group of 29 travelers entered a tavern in Southwark called Tabard Inn. Okay, called Tabard Inn. Tabard Inn on their way to visit the Canterbury, and Chaucer was also in that inn. They decided that they would visit the Canterbury the next day, and the host of the Tabard Inn was Harry Bailey. The group welcomed Chaucer in their group. The host proposes that each pilgrim will tell 2 stories on the way to Canterbury and 2 stories on the way back home, and whoever tells the best story will be given a free meal. So it was decided that the next day they would set off for the journey, and in the meantime Chaucer indicates that he wants to give a description of the 29 pilgrims. He wants to describe their dresses, their hobbies, their manners, and of course with his perfect observation. In that society there are 3 general class. Okay, named as estate: the military, the clergy, the laity. The military, from Chaucer's description of the 29 characters, we find that the 29 characters are from all walks of life. Okay, the knight, his son, and knight's yeoman belong to the military class or estates. The prioress and her nun and 3 priests, the monk, the friar, the person belong to the clergy class. And from the wealthy franklin to the poor plowman belong to the laity class or estate. Okay. Now I will describe their characters. Okay. First of all, Chaucer begins the general prologue with the knight. The knight is the noblest of all the pilgrims, embodying all the qualities. For example, he has military prowess, honor, generosity, kindness, etc. He fought for 15 battles, and he is very sober and gentle. With him is his son, and his son is 20 years old. His son is squire, okay, and his son also fought many battles, and he has many qualities of a courtly lover. For example, he has the quality of writing, riding, singing, playing the flute, etc. Okay, and with them is the knight's yeoman. At that time, the yeomen, they are called freeborn servant. Okay, they serve the nobleman at that time. And these 3 characters belong to the military estates or military class. And then the prioress is the name of the prioress is Madame Eglantine. Though she does not belong to the royal class, she tries to imitate its manners. Okay, for example, she tries to eat her food very politely, daintily, to reach out for food in the table daintily, and to wipe her grease before drinking from a cup. And she is compassionate towards animal. She loves her dogs and rats, and she wears a brooch, and in that brooch, in Latin, some words are written: amor vincit omnia. This Latin word means love conquers all. Love conquers all. That means she is romantic in nature. Okay. With her, we see her nun and 3 priests. Okay. So 3 priests and her nun accompany the prioress. And then next, the character monk. Monk is here described by Chaucer with irony and humor, because the monk should be very religious or pious character, but Chaucer here describes the monk as a corrupt person. Okay, he loves hunting, though the monks are discouraged to do any secular activities, but he loves hunting and rides horses, and he does not care for the monastic rules and orders. The fat, bald monk almost resembles a prosperous lord, according to Chaucer. The next character is the friar. The friar is a very jovial, friendly, sociable character. He hears confession from people and assigns very easy penance to them. For he does this by taking from them money. Okay, so he is popular with the wealthy landowners or wealthy gentlemen who can donate him money. And he does not like the beggars or lepers who cannot give him anything. He is also popular with the innkeepers and barmaids because they give him food and drink. He dresses richly and quite merrily. Then the next character is the person. The person is a village person. He is a good character. Okay. From the religious or ecclesiastical character, we see only the person is a good person. He is a village person and he loves his parish or church very much. He is devotional to God and teaches them, the parishioners, in the right way. His preaching is true to the teaching of Jesus Christ. So the person loves his parishioners very much. Even he is kind to the sinful persons, and he doesn't want to scorn them. Okay, he prefers to teach them by giving example. Then the laity, from the wealthy franklin to the poor plowman. These lay characters can again be subdivided into several classes, and I am writing them. Okay, the laity are subdivided into the 5 groups. Okay, first the landowners, the franklin. The franklin is a wealthy gentleman farmer. His chief occupation is to eat, and his house seemed to snow only food, meat, and drink. Okay. Then professionals. From the professionals, we get the clerk, the man of law, the guildsman, the physician, the shipman. First, the clerk. The clerk is a student of philosophy at Oxford. He devours book. Chaucer describes that he devours book instead of food. He is very lean and serious. The man of law is an expert person, prepares legal document without any flaw. The guildsmen, there are 5 guildsmen. The guildsmen are 5 members of a guild. They are a carpenter, a haberdasher, a weaver, a dyer, a tapestry maker, and they have a uniform or livery of their guild. The physician or the doctor treats people from the knowledge of his astronomy and for humor, and he loves gold very much. Okay. The shipman is a drunkard person. He doesn't mind to let his girlfriend sleep with another man if he is offered a gallon of wine. Okay. And from the laborers group, we find 2 characters, the cook and the plowman. The cook here came with the guildsman and man of law, and he is good overall. The plowman is also a good character. The plowman plows others' land. He is also a good character. Then the stewards, the miller, the municipal, the reeve. The miller, he doesn't have so much power, but he wants to exercise power. For example, he is in charge of grinding the grains of that region. Okay, and he stole corn and charges extra money for doing his job. The municipal is a person who is in charge of purchasing food and supplies for an institution. This municipal works in the Inn of Court. The reeve was a manager and attendant of the Lord, and he manages everything, and he manages his Lord's state so well that he is able to hoard much money. Okay. And then church officers, the summoner and pardoner. Both the summoner and pardoner are corrupt, example of corrupt persons. They misuse their power. The summoner arraigns those who violate church laws, and the pardoner offers easy penance to people by taking money. So both of them cheat the poor people by taking money. In this way, Chaucer describes all the characters. Some characters are types, some characters are individual. He describes their dresses, hobbies, manners, etc. Okay, and all the descriptions are so realistic and lifelike that we can call that the 14th, the prologue to the general prologue to the Canterbury Tales is a picture gallery of 14th century England. In a word, Chaucer shows the social, economic and religious picture of his age. Okay, and that's all for today. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you. Stay safe and blessed.